God has certainly blessed you, and I rejoice to have the privilege to be with you on this day as we celebrate the 25th anniversary. The Orthodox Church in America is also beginning its celebration of its 40th year, starting next year. And that 40 years, I think, is a major time, like any anniversary, to really not only take stock of the past, but to really chart our course for the future. Where do you want to be 25 years from now? Where does the OCA want to be 40 years from now? And I think what we need to look at, most important, is not only that wonderful verse from the liturgy that Father Jonathan was talking about, but also really, where are we in terms of the gospel? And how can we better serve Jesus Christ and manifest the life that he preaches and teaches, that he gives to us in the life of the church, and that he teaches us about in his holy gospel. The most important thing for us as Christians is to be absolutely, completely focused on our commitment to Christ and to his church. We have to be focused on Christ and the church, because the two go completely together. You can't, as one of the ancient fathers said, you can't have a head without a body. Neither can you have a body without a head. And so it's the head and the body together, Christ and the church, that we are committed to. When we, as the Synod of Bishops, have been considering, as we develop our strategic plan for the next 40 years of the Orthodox Church in America, one of the things that we looked at is really, what is our identity as the church? Of course, we have to understand ourselves as the presence of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. The Orthodox Church that was brought here through the Russian missionaries, that was nurtured by multitudes of immigrants from a huge variety of places, bringing many, many different cultures and many, many different customs to the richness of the church. We also are a church of converts. The first Orthodox Americans were native Alaskans, and I rejoice that I recently had the opportunity to go and to spend time in Alaska with the native peoples, and to see that as a community, it's very interesting, because these people have been Orthodox for 150 or 200 years, and that is a huge advantage over those of us who have converted only in the past 30 or 40. And it's precisely this that I think we need to look at. Because what has happened up there is that orthodoxy has been taken into the culture. People live a life in which they think entirely in Orthodox terms. And I would wager to say that all of us who have grown up in America, who have grown up in Western culture, do not have that kind of integration of our lives by the faith that the native Alaskans do. It's a challenge to us. How do we bring orthodoxy into our American cultural context? It's not just a matter of changing the language. One of the things that I've found is that we can ignore the gospel in any language, whether we understand it or not. And that's a problem. It's very easy to ignore it if it's in a language we don't understand. So our task has to be to find a way to express the message of the church in a way that our culture can accept, in a way that our culture can understand. And when we really look at ourselves, who are we? Most of us are not immigrants, although some of us came from immigrant families. Most of us have been in in this country for several generations from our families. Both those who come from native Orthodox cultures, as well as those who have converted to the church. Really, the Orthodox Church in America has become a truly indigenous church. We're a church of people who have been born in this country, in this culture, coming from a multitude of different ethnic and linguistic and national backgrounds. But we're an authentically American church. And we don't really look to any other culture as a reference point for our identity. We might all be hyphenated Americans, Greek American, German American for myself, Russian American, but when it comes down to it, our major identity is as Americans. And our task is to also bring into our practice of the Orthodox faith all that is good and right about our American culture. We have nothing to be ashamed of in relation to our American culture. And we have to give thanks to God for it, and that He has brought us together in this country as Americans. We also have this multitude of different backgrounds out of which God has gathered us together. Russian and Greek and Carpatho-Russian and Ukrainian and Serbian and as not to mention German, French, Irish, Spanish, Mexican, French, Canadian, Anglo-Canadian, and all the many native cultures. We're a huge melting pot. And this is another challenge. How do we take that incredible richness, that richness of all of these cultures, and manifest it in a way that each family feels that it can maintain the integrity of its own cultural traditions and have them as something to share rather than thinking they have to hide them or bury them in something else or whatever. Or that they can only relate to people who have their own family and cultural traditions. You know, if nothing else, it makes for a really good banquet. Right? You know? It'd be kind of boring if it was all just, you know, if it was pierogies and halushki all the time, or if it was only, you know, baklava and gyros, you know. Let's have a variety. And what a beautiful thing that is. The future of Orthodoxy in our country is undoubtedly a context in which all of the Orthodox are going to come together. I was at a meeting yesterday of the Standing Conference of Orthodox Bishops. All of the heads of the Orthodox churches in this country, Archbishop Demetrios of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, Metropolitan Philip of the Antiochians, Metropolitan Christopher of the Serbs, Metropolitan Joseph of the Bulgarians, and on and on and on. And what's happening is that there are plans in the works, sponsored by the mother churches, all of the mother churches in Europe, for all of us to come together into a single church. It's going to take a long time. The Orthodox Church in America already has that as part of its lived reality. We have very little homogeneity in our churches. You know, St. John's is a beautiful example. And you got people from the entire Orthodox spectrum plus a lot. And it's beautiful. This is going to be the face of Orthodoxy in America. And it's a step in developing a unique and authentic American Orthodoxy. One that for a long time is going to be eclectic. It's going to have a lot of different elements from many different places, and then there are unique elements. Music, and language, and expression, and forms that are going to be